I knew something was wrong the second nobody looked at me. The office was never quiet at lunchtime. Usually somebody was laughing near the copier, somebody arguing with a supplier, somebody microwaving food that should honestly be illegal in a shared workspace. But that afternoon, silence. The kind that settles over a room right before bad news. I walked in carrying a turkey sandwich and an iced coffee and immediately saw two men standing at my desk. Dark jackets, security badges, latex gloves. One of them was unplugging my external hard drive. The other was pulling papers out of my drawers like he expected to uncover evidence of corporate espionage hidden between shipping reports. And 20 feet away, pretending not to stare, was Melissa. Of course it was Melissa. The taller investigator looked up first. Mr. Carter? Depends who's asking. We're with internal compliance. There it was. Not HR. Compliance. Which meant somebody had spent months building a case against me. And I already knew exactly who. Melissa had been quietly obsessed with me for over a year. Not in a normal coworker rivalry kind of way. No. Melissa treated the office like a courtroom. Everybody was either useful evidence or a future target. At first her behavior seemed harmless. Annoying, sure, but harmless. She'd CC managers on emails that didn't need management. She'd correct tiny formatting mistakes. She once sent me a 3-paragraph Teams message because I forgot to bold a subject line. 3 paragraphs. About font weight. I laughed about it at the time. Big mistake. Because Melissa didn't do anything casually. Everything she did was strategic, carefully rehearsed. She wasn't correcting mistakes. She was documenting weaknesses. I realized that one morning when I caught her screenshotting a message I'd sent saying I was running 10 minutes late because of traffic. 10 minutes. And she archived it. Who does that? But the weirdest part? She always smiled while doing it. Like she was protecting the company from dangerous criminals who occasionally forgot attachment labels. The investigator opened another drawer. What's usually kept in here? Mostly stress and unpaid overtime. No reaction. Tough crowd. Meanwhile, Melissa hovered near the printer pretending to organize papers she clearly wasn't reading. She wanted front row seats without technically being involved. Classic Melissa. The taller investigator glanced at his clipboard. We've received multiple reports regarding procedural inconsistencies, communication concerns, and possible documentation irregularities. I nodded slowly. Sounds terrifying. It's serious. I took a sip of my coffee, then asked the question I already knew the answer to. Melissa file the reports? Neither man answered, which was answer enough. Here's the thing about people like Melissa. They mistake calmness for weakness. I didn't gossip, didn't argue, didn't compete. I just did my work. And somehow that bothered her more than anything. Because calm people are difficult to control. So she escalated. Little by little. She started accidentally questioning me during meetings. Ryan, just confirming. You meant to revise those numbers after approval? Always in front of people. Always smiling. Always sounding helpful. But every question was designed to make me hesitate, to make me look uncertain. And when that didn't work, she started tracking me. I noticed her watching the clock whenever I went to lunch, watching when I logged in, watching when I left. One afternoon, I walked past her desk and saw a spreadsheet open titled, Workflow Comparison Tracking. Comparison, meaning she wasn't just monitoring herself. She was monitoring me. That's when I realized something important. Melissa wasn't trying to outperform me. She was trying to eliminate me. The worst part? It started working. Managers became colder. Meetings got awkward. Small mistakes suddenly felt heavily scrutinized. One Friday afternoon, Walsh, our department manager, called me into his office. He closed the door. Never a good sign. Ryan, he sighed. There's concern about consistency. Consistency, documentation, communication habits, deadlines. I almost laughed. I had the best performance numbers in the department. Clients specifically requested me by name. But none of that mattered because Melissa had created a different narrative. And narratives spread faster than truth. That night I barely slept. Not because I thought I'd done something wrong, because I realized perception mattered more than reality. And Melissa understood that better than anyone. Over the next few weeks, things got worse. HR requested meetings. Compliance emails started appearing. My access permissions were temporarily reviewed. At one point, IT locked me out of a reporting folder for nearly 2 hours during an internal audit. Melissa loved every second of it. I could see it in her face. Not happiness, satisfaction. Like watching somebody slowly drown exactly the way you predicted they would. That's when I almost quit. Seriously. I sat in my car one night staring at the steering wheel thinking maybe it wasn't worth it anymore. Maybe Melissa won. Maybe people like her always win. Then I remembered something my father used to tell me when I was younger. Pay attention to people who make hard days easier. Not successful people. Not powerful people. Helpful people. So the next morning I bought a cheap black notebook. And every day before leaving work, I wrote down 3 good things that happened. That was it. Tiny moments. Daniel stayed late helping dispatch. Alicia covered phones while someone dealt with a family emergency. Security guard held the elevator because my hands were full. Just human things. Nothing dramatic. I never planned for anyone else to read it. Honestly, the notebook was survival. Because when all you focus on are problems, eventually the world starts looking ugly. And Melissa was ugly enough already. The notebook changed me slowly. I started noticing kindness everywhere. Tiny invisible moments most people ignored. A janitor replacing the coffee filters before anybody complained. An exhausted intern staying late to help another department. A coworker buying soup for somebody who looked sick. Meanwhile, Melissa's name never appeared. Not once. Not because I avoided writing about her. There was simply nothing to write. She never helped anybody unless management could see it. Never thanked anyone. Never encouraged anyone. Never made a room lighter. She only monitored people. And eventually, that becomes impossible to hide. Then came the lunch incident. Compliance had already been searching my desk for almost 20 minutes when the shorter investigator opened the second drawer. "What's this?" He held up the notebook. Melissa looked up instantly. I saw excitement flash across her face. She thought they'd found something huge. Maybe proof I was documenting employees. Maybe confidential information. Maybe retaliation material. The investigator opened the first page. Then another. Then another. And slowly, the room changed. No more aggressive questions. No more suspicious expressions. Just silence. Page after page looked the same. David brought coffee for overnight staff. Luis fixed a spreadsheet before deadline. Nicole stayed late helping customer support. Normal things. Human things. Good things. The taller investigator frowned slightly. "You write these every day?" "Pretty much." "Why?" I shrugged. "Because if I don't, this place starts feeling like a machine." He kept reading, then suddenly paused, because he noticed something else. Pattern. Or more specifically, the absence of one. Melissa's name never appeared. Not once. Not in hundreds of entries. The investigator looked up slowly. "No mention of her?" I shook my head. "She never gave me anything to write about." That hit harder than I expected. Because it was true. Not cruel. Not exaggerated. Just true. And somehow truth always lands heavier when spoken quietly. The investigators asked if they could take the notebook into the conference room. Sure. Melissa followed them immediately like she expected a trophy ceremony. The conference room walls were glass. Everybody watched. For almost an hour. At first Melissa then irritated, then pale. At one point she started talking rapidly while the investigator flipped through pages. Even from across the office I could tell things were going very badly for her. Because while Melissa had spent a year documenting technical mistakes, my notebook documented culture, and she was missing from all of it. Completely. Like a ghost standing in the middle of a team. When she walked out of the conference room, nobody said anything. But the entire office felt it. Melissa wasn't walking like a winner anymore. She looked like somebody who accidentally stepped into her own trap. And the craziest part? I hadn't attacked her, never reported her, never yelled, never played politics. I just quietly kept proof that good people existed. And somehow, that exposed her more than any accusation ever could. The next few days were strange. Melissa suddenly started acting friendly. Too friendly. Complimenting people awkwardly. Offering fake help. Laughing too loudly. It felt like an alien pretending to be human after studying sitcoms. Nobody bought it. Then she switched tactics. Started whispering that my notebook was creepy. Said I was secretly documenting coworkers. Said people should feel uncomfortable. But by then it was too late, because compliance had already interviewed half the office. And they kept hearing the same thing. Ryan supports people. Melissa monitors people. Big difference. Then something happened I didn't expect. Daniel from billing stopped by my desk one morning holding sticky notes. "You started something, man." "What?" He pointed around the office. People had started leaving appreciation notes on desks. Tiny messages. "Thanks for helping yesterday. You saved that client call. Appreciate you." Then Alicia started bringing coffee for the morning crew. Then Walsh started meetings by asking people to recognize coworkers. The office changed slowly, but noticeably. People smiled more, helped more, actually talked to each other. It wasn't fake positivity. It was relief. Like people had been waiting for permission to be decent again. And Melissa? She stood out immediately. Because once kindness becomes visible, people notice who never participates in it. One afternoon Walsh called me into his office again. This time he looked exhausted. He closed the door slowly. "Melissa's being reassigned." I stayed quiet. "Compliance found no misconduct on your part," he continued. "But they identified concerning behavioral patterns involving targeted reporting and workplace manipulation." Translation: Melissa weaponized policy against coworkers. And eventually everyone noticed. Walsh leaned back in his chair. "You know what your notebook actually proved?" "What?" "That healthy teams aren't built by people who catch mistakes." He paused. "They're built by people who care if others succeed." That stayed with me. A month later Melissa transferred out of state. No goodbye lunch. No farewell email. Nothing. Just gone. And honestly, I didn't hate her. I think she spent so much time trying to look valuable. She forgot how to actually be valuable. There's a difference. A huge one. I still keep the notebook. Still write 3 good things every day. Not because I'm defending myself anymore. Not because I expect anyone else to read it. But because life gets dark when all you track are flaws. And some people become so obsessed with catching mistakes. They slowly erase themselves from every good memory in the room. Melissa thought she was building a case against me. Turns out, she was building a case against herself the entire time. And all I did was quietly tell the truth long enough for everyone else to finally see it.